current state of the city is needs some help.
I think it's definitely been on the down over the last couple of years.
I think it's okay. I think it could be better. Any place could be better, but there's no place like it. I love it, Chicago.
So my day job, I'm a cost accountant for a manufacturing company, but I also model and act on the side.
All my life. Kind of grew up here, went to elementary school at Graham, over in the project area.
I went to Maine West High School, that's in Des Plaines, in the suburbs.
Okay, well, my brother and them, they from like 107th and Champaign, where the Folk on the Hustles is, and my older brother is actually one of the co-founders or something like that. So my youngest to older brother, which is right above me, I used to follow him around a lot, so that's why I ended up hanging around with the gangs. But then we got into it, I went another way and I joined the opposite gang of what he was. And my mama and them, they kicked me out of Chicago and sent me to Maywood, supposedly to get into a suburb, just back in the day when Maywood was nice. And I started my own gang out there, you know? So it just gradually grew from other, and then my sister had passed in like 96, so all that was dead, so.
Well, you know, I mean, I can't say that that's something specific to Chicago. The gang problem is worldwide. I mean, I lived in small towns and big towns. Even small towns have their gangs. So, you know, unfortunately, that's one of those problems that's everywhere.
What's a small town?
Small town like Elgin. Elgin, we're sitting at almost about 100,000 people. I think it may be a little over 100,000. And I lived in a small town like Mendota, which is at 8,000 people, and they got gangs too. So they're everywhere you go, you know what I'm saying?
I grew up in Uptown. I remember having drive-bys and stuff like that. I remember when I was in high school, my friends used to tell us when an SOS was going out, which is a shoot on sight, and they used to tell us, look, there's an SOS going out in the neighborhood, y'all might want to get home like ASAP, you know? So I grew up in neighborhoods like that. But then where me and my husband lives now, I think everybody's like, ooh, you live in that little pretty fancy neighborhood. No, we don't, I can't tell you how many police officers done rode through there. I can't tell you how much gang crap we deal with, cars getting stolen, broken into, everything. I mean, and you just look at our neighborhood and our area and you would never know that all that stuff happens there.
I was in a trying time of my life. At that time, I was gang banging real hard. I was serious about it, and it was just something that I wanted. You know, I thought that that was a way of life. You know, after hearing all of the gruesome stories about Al Capone and all that, you know, I kind of adapted to their lifestyle, and it was just something that I wanted. I wanted the money, I wanted the women, and you know, for the most part, I kind of had those things. So, but with this particular day, we was at the pool hall, we was shooting, and then another gang came in, not knowing that we were there. And they started writing on the wall. We was like, hey man, you can't put that up here, you know. You know, fight escalated inside, took it outside, you know. I got hurt that day. That day I got hurt, you know. But, you know, a couple black eyes here and there, you know, it was part of the territory, you know. You had battle scars to show, and people knew that you meant business about what you were doing, you know. When I landed in prison from 1978 to 1990, saw that it wasn't quite the way that the picture of it that I thought that it should have been, you know. Because for the first 3 years when I was there, you know, I kind of gave up on life, you know. Didn't want to live, didn't want to die, didn't want to be involved in nothing, you know. You know, I found a job working in the commissary, which was one of the mainstream jobs in the prison at that time. And that was one of my hustles, you know. I was able to manipulate and stay above status quo, I guess, and I kept myself alive that way. And by me being, you know, one of the main guys in the commissary, a lot of people tended to want to make sure that they were my friends. So when it was their turn to shop, you know, they got what they needed, you know. And if they didn't, then they would see me later, and then I would charge them extra so I could that's how I made my money, man. I mean, it's all about money, you know, even in there. You talking about when I went to prison? A kidnap murder. In the area where I was at, I was kind of one of the main shot callers, but we had got into an altercation, and it was something that, it was a lie told, and I was myself and my brother and a couple others. It was 3 of us. We was beat almost. We almost lost our life, and in our retaliation, we went back and we happened to see one of the guys, and you know, we was upset about it. So we just did them like he had done us, you know. In the process, he died, whereas we didn't. It's unfortunate. But then, like I said, that was back in the day. It ain't like it ain't nothing like today, you know. Thank God I'm out of that. Yeah. Like I said, I was gang banging. I was serious about it, but when I gave it up, you know, I gave it up. You know, I told all of them, you know, hey, this ain't for me no more. But some of them was willing to let me go, and some weren't, you know, because they thought that I was playing, you know. But even to the day, I'm serious about it.
But I got in the gang to learn, you know, because it's like an extended family, especially when it comes to like when you're on the streets and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm currently in school right now. I'm a criminal justice major, and I'm probably gonna do forensic science or something like that. So I definitely would like my son to follow my footsteps on that one. It's a different lifestyle than what I'm used to. I managed to escape that lifestyle without, you know, felonies and stuff like that. So it's cool. Yeah, I remember when okay, this is the thing, man. We was staying on 67th and Richland, and we was going to Parkside. And my mother and them, they had moved on 73rd in Dorchester. Mind you, once you move that far, you got to go to that school in that district, so James Madison. So I didn't want to transfer. Me and my brother, my oldest brother, we was continuously walking to Parkside. So I guess somewhere or another, somebody had found out that we was walking that far. So they made us go to James Madison. The first day I was there, some guy had called me schoolboy. And I remember jumping up, smacking him with a book, and then they suspended me, and I ended up being able to go back to Parkside. That was a good thing about that.
Wait, so he called you schoolboy?
Schoolboy. I don't know where he got it from, but he was just calling me schoolboy. It's like, okay. I was gonna run with the name too afterwards. Nah.
Yeah, I was cool that time.
Yeah, we was cool there. He got me back in the school I wanted to go to, so it helped out. A friend of mine, he actually was killed in front of me. I was like a split second too late before we was like sitting on a stairwell, and then some guys was walking down the street, and then he came down the stairwell, and I guess one of the guys had pulled a gun on him. We was just sitting on the stairwell smoking and drinking, so by the time I got down to the stairwell, he was wrestling with the guy with the gun in his hand. And then the 2 shots went off. They hit him in his chest. And by the time I got there, it was too late. So he died in '98.
How old would he be if he was still alive?
I don't know. He died when he was 16, so. Yeah, just about. It's terrible. It happens. He's in a better place.
Yeah, the area I grew up in, one of my friends, she wasn't in a gang, but she knew a lot of gang members and stuff like that. And she used to tell me, like, there's an SOS going out. And I'm like, I couldn't tell you which gangs had it on which gang. Yeah, I could not I don't know. I choose not to. No, every time she warned me about it, my ass was inside the house waiting. All you gotta do is tell me I'm in the house. I'm not trying to be out in the street. Ooh, what's going on? Nope, my ass will be inside sitting on the sofa waiting till it's done. That's okay. I don't need to be walking about being nosy.
It was on the L. He was sitting close to the exit, and someone reached over, took something, and It happened so fast. I don't know if it was a necklace or something he had in his hand, but it was fast. And I remember the young man standing up, you know, as if to defend himself. And an elderly person said, "Leave it alone. It's not worth it." And I agree. And the person left. This is in Jamaica, where went to the market. In Jamaica, they have the open market. And my mom would go every Saturday. And we were on the bus. And someone in a car, I don't know what he did, but it was so crowded that to drive a car was almost impossible. But yet he was in this car driving through the market. And he couldn't go any further. And these men surrounded his cars. And they were reaching in with knives and machetes. And I never forgot that memory. They're dealers on campus and they're users. It starts early. Like I said, a difficult environment. They have to do their job, but they're also limited in that they have to be careful that in carrying out their jobs that they're not breaking any laws or, you know, themselves in terms of the way they treat the citizens. Because then they have to worry about the backlash. You know, if they're too forceful, they run the risk of being accused of abuse or something else. But yet, at the same time, if they're, you know, not reacting in a timely manner, that could put them at risk as well. So it's a difficult job that they have.
Unfortunately, if I had to say who commits the most crime, I think black people have to commit the most crime just because I've seen it. And if that's an ignorant thing to say, I'm sorry, but I wish someone would just correct me. Unfortunately, stereotypes are based on some fact. And they have stereotypes about Asians, and I wish I could argue with it. And one of the stereotypes is that Asians don't commit crimes, so there's that. Do Hispanics commit a lot of crimes? I do work with a lot of Hispanics, and they're hardworking people, and unfortunately, they are susceptible to crime as well. They start crime. White people commit crime. Now it's become this melting pot of everyone commits crime. We're in a bad economy, so people got to do what they got to do, or what they think is right. And blacks are committing crimes on black people, so it doesn't, you know, so what difference does it make there? And depending on what area you're in, it doesn't matter who it is. If they're down on their luck, and you look like they're doing better than them, they'll take your money. They'll key your car just to make them feel better. I've seen that happen. Oh yeah, it happens all the time, you know. And anybody with a key can key your car. It doesn't matter what color there is. I firmly believe that, and if that makes them feel better. There's crime everywhere, you know. Unfortunately, I don't think color matters, and the more we get into this economy, yeah, you know, the more we get into it, color seems to be less important. You look on the news, it's a mixed rainbow of crime, really.
I'm not sure. I mean, as we all know, there are a lot more white people just nationally than anybody else. And there are a lot in, you know, specifically in the city of Chicago, but I want to say white people just off sheer numbers.
White people just
Off numbers. I mean, you know, just because I just feel like it ain't enough. You're only gonna find black people, Latinos, Asians in a certain range, as opposed to, you know, Caucasians. I just feel like, once again, those stories don't get any, you know, any exposure. A lot of stuff going on in Lincoln Park you never know about unless you were there and seen it. Like, you know, bar fights, aggravated battery. Go up there to Wrigley Field. You'll see a couple of fights, a couple of muggings. I think it's just another case of the police getting away with something.
Oh, I think it's equal across the board. I don't think there really is more. I just think, unfortunately, black or the minorities are usually pegged as doing the most, but it's not true. I think the reason why is because it's such a small, compared to white America, minorities are still such a small part of the U.S. So when we do something wrong, it's like, it looks like more of us are doing it wrong than it is white America. But no, across the board, everybody just as corrupt as everybody else. I'm sorry. And for people to see it that way and stuff like that, no, they're turning a blinded eye towards it. It's everyone.
Well, I'm black, so I'm gonna say somebody else. Hispanics, let's put that down. Well, yeah, because it really changed. Chicago has changed dramatically because it used to be where the black people was the bad. But I think now more Hispanic people are growing into that spot right now. So, and the white people had it before us. No, it's just like
Racism is man, that's a terrible booger.
I've never experienced it.
I mean, I remember when I was a kid talking about living on Troop and Grenshaw. I went around the store, to the corner store. It was called Richards, and Richards was a white guy. And my dad,
The name of the store.
that was the name, that was his name, but it was also the name of the store. So we were standing in Richards' store, and this other guy came up, and you know, I just happened to look at him, and now I'm being a kid, not knowing what's going on, but my dad saw it, and the man just started cussing me out. What you looking at me for, so and so? What are you staring at me for? You know, I'm just a kid. You know, I don't know. You know, he was cuss words. Yeah, he was just cursing me out, man. You know, I mean, he called me everything. And I had no clue as to him actually talking to me. I didn't know. But I remember distinctively, my dad jumped between me and him and said, "Sir, he's just a kid. He's just a kid. He don't know what he's doing. He's just a kid." Which at that time was, man, I didn't know. To this day, I had no clue as to what was going on. He was white. He was a white guy. He was a big, broad white guy, man. I mean, I didn't know, I really didn't know he was talking to me until my dad jumped between me and him, because he was coming right at me. But I guess my distance from him was so far, and it's just, I don't even know how he knew I was looking at him, but I knew I was looking at him. What you looking at me for? What are you looking at me for? And he started coming toward me. And my dad was like, "Hey man, he's just a kid. He's just a kid. He don't know what he's doing. He's just a kid." And he kind of pushed me into the store. We went in the store, grabbed a few things, came out. The guy was gone. And I just haphazardly ran on in front of my dad going on back to the house. Got home and found out what had happened, you know, not even knowing. But, you know, and that was a bout that I had with racism at an early age, not even knowing.
I mean, I remember I was just out and about by myself, and this one lady just came up to me and she's like cursing me out because apparently a group of black kids like graffitied her house and things of that nature. And I guess because I was black, I looked like them or something. I don't know. I don't even know where this lady lived, but apparently she comes up, she calls me every bad name in the book and everything that she could think of. And I'm like, I just looked at her, I said, "Well, what's going on? Why are you coming at me like that?" She's like, "Because you know what y'all be doing. Y'all just ain't got no respect for people and their property, you niggers," and stuff like that. And I was just like, oh, so because I just happen to be black, you're making me the cause of everything every black person has ever did on this earth. Wow, you're so smart. I hope I can be like you when I get older. Yeah, So yeah, I just laughed at her. I felt it was really sad that she had to go to that extent. You know, especially because, like I said, this day and age, she could have addressed the wrong person and then she really would have been pissed off later. So it's just not necessarily the brightest thing in the world to do.
When I joined the gang for one reason, because it's gonna sound a little funny, but I felt I wasn't thug or black enough. It's kind of an interesting theory, but at the time, you know, I was young. I felt like I was just a little bit outside of my race, you know, and it felt like that would be something that would bring me in a little bit closer so I could understand them a little bit better. And then once I got in, I realized, you know, ignorance is anywhere, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter what your race is. So I went ahead and I decided that, you know, I could do greater things with my life than gangbanging. Killing people, stealing, robbing, dealing drugs, that ain't the way. So I had to move on, you know what I'm saying? I grew up as a person, you know.
It depends on the person. And I think even the misguided people can be guided, so I wouldn't give up on them. It would take somebody who's been in the gang, that's coming out of a gang, or trying to change their life to help change that person's life, or the youth, or whatever. It's not gonna always be the person who went to school and has the clean background that's gonna, you know, help change those people that's misguided. Like like for instance, me, if it was me, I could probably change more lives than, you know, say somebody that went to DePaul, you know. So I think that's what it'll take. And yeah, they do glorify the bad things that happen in Chicago. They really don't show the good things that happen in Chicago. And they need after school programs, not just music after school programs. I believe that it's a lot of kids that just don't want to do music. I mean, some kids like to draw. Some kids like to be athletes. Some kids like to, you know, a whole range of things. So I think it would take that, and I think we all should come together as a whole, and then that'll make a change. I could do it. Give me a seat somewhere in office. I can do it. I mean, I get my Barack Obama on around here. I could do it though. My grandma, she said I should run for alderman or something. We stay right at 1720. Cut this out. Well, I'm on North Avenue and Central, so. She want me to, you know, run for alderman or something where I can help clean up the West Side, because we've been there our whole life. So.
Why do kids?
To feel like they're part of something. I think everybody want to feel like they're part of something. The gang family lets you feel like you're in a family, and you know, one person follows the next. So if it's my friend, he's in a gang, most likely I'm gonna be in that same gang because he's in that gang, and then he's probably in that gang because he don't have a father. And he's following one of the older guys that's in that gang, you know, it's something like that.
I think the reason I was drawn to it was because, and I think it's with most children, they don't like to be told what to do, and especially with no father figure being present. And I mind you, my dad was there. He worked the job. My mom was at home when she wasn't working, and I had both my parents there with 9 children. But nowadays you have so many children without fathers, without that presence of a father figure. And they don't have any sense of stability, meaning a role model to look up to.
I could just say this from growing up in my neighborhood, it's really become glorified. You grow up, especially if you're in a family who doesn't have luck, you know, very luckily, my grandparents had a pretty decent amount of money and I was well taken care of. I can't say the same for my peers. And when you don't have anything and you grow up seeing the dudes with the big trucks and all the, you know, the good looking women, you just want it so bad. And if they really make it almost a crime for you to be yourself. If you like science, you will never be able to like science or anything not negative. You'll be called a lame or whatever. And yeah, it's almost like in many ways, I mean, everybody has their own individual decisions, but in many ways, it's almost like you're pushed into it.
Pushed into what, gang life?
Into the gang life. And if you don't have a very steady foundation, there really aren't too many other options.
This is where a good family base comes into place. When I grew up, the apartment complex I grew up in Noble Square. And I remember if me and my brothers were on the playground and we did something wrong and one of our neighbors may have saw it, we may not have known our neighbors saw, but you could be damn sure by the time mommy got home from work, she knew about it and we were in trouble. And there's no way around that. Mommy was gonna deal with us. Even if we were like, yeah, we got away with that, yeah, good, yes. Yeah, mommy still knew, because what do they say? The saying, it take a village to raise a child. So I think a lot of people, they want kids and everything, but they don't want the responsibility that comes with kids. I remember growing up, my mom helping me with my homework, my mom making sure all my homework was done before I went outside, my mom giving us, like, if we brought home anything less than a C from school, that took away any and all rights we could have ever wanted growing up. And same thing with my dad, he did the same thing. It was a very disciplinary household. Like, I got spankings and everything growing up. So we were very disciplined at the same time. But like I said, I have a twin brother, an older brother, and a younger sister. None of us have records. None of us have ever been in trouble with the law or anything like that. So it's just a matter of our parents, like, not together, They raised us. I have a stepmom and a stepdad, but yet we still knew they were there. We still knew mommy and daddy, we're in trouble, they're gonna help us. Mommy and daddy taught us right from wrong, mom, you know? So I think a lot of kids who still want to go into gangs, I don't know, they might be missing something. They might feel that by being with the gang, they have a family around them who's going to take care of them and look after them and things of that nature. And that's actually pretty sad, you know? You have to turn to such a lifestyle just so you can feel love and support and feel like you have someone in your corner. And I think that's really the main reason why a lot of kids or people do it in the first place.
I want to say it starts with education. I feel like school systems are really they're really bad down here. My little cousin actually, he goes to he went to it's a public school called Lovett, you know, up the street, like Bloomingdale and Narragansett. They didn't even have textbooks from the time he was in 4th grade to the time he graduated in 8th. He didn't bring a single textbook home. I mean, it starts with the parents too. I feel like if parents had, I mean, it starts in the home, everything actually. I think if parents had a higher standard for their children, you know, regardless of where you come from, you should be able to do pretty okay.
That's another difficult question. It's not just the police that has to do something. If you're talking about children, once again, you have to go back to the home. You have to go back to the parents. So you can't start with the police. I have to be there for one thing. You can't be an absent parent. Parenting means you have to be there because you have to be teaching them. Discipline means to teach. You have to be there with your child in order to teach them and see what's going on and see who they're with and what they're doing. My son would get absolutely upset with me because I would search his room and I had no problems with it. I search everything. I'm a nosy mom. I want to know what's going on, where you been, what you did, and who you did it with. As one person, I mean, how much can one person do? You know, to make Chicago better, it's going to be a group effort. You know, it's going to take the government along with the residents as well, working together. It's going to take communities, and then you go even further, it's going to take the family. You know, you're going to go back to the homes and to the parents and kids. I mean, so one person making Chicago better, there's no easy answer to that.
The city wasn't built by one person, it was built by all of us. And therefore, by default, all of us are responsible for the direction that it's in. And so until we all can get together and try and make it better, it's not going to be. It's a group effort, plain and simple. So everybody as a whole has to want to change it. That means all the criminals, all the non-criminals, all black, white, gay, straight, all of us need to try and come together and do something. Otherwise, we're just living in the city that we've made, plain and simple.
You know, to be honest, I think it's the human nature to belong, you know. We all want to be a part of something. Even as an adult, I'm still doing it. I'm part of groups and troops and clubs and whatever, and I can see as a young kid, when you're first drawn into it, how badly you want to belong as human nature, and you want the friendship, and if you have nothing else to do, this is how you get acclimated with your friends. I'm not sure if I can even blame them for wanting to do that. If they have truly nothing else to do, nothing positive else to fall into.
You don't think they have anything positive?
I would hope so. I think there always is, but if they truly don't want to see that or don't see that or not introduced to that, you know, then how are they going to know about it? If all the opportunities are brought to them and they choose to ignore it, and they're brought on a silver platter to see this is what you can do after school, or you can go to school, and all these things all these opportunities, and you choose to ignore it, and you still choose a gang life because you have weak integrity, or whatever, I'm not here to judge, but whatever that is for you, then, you know, that's your choice. And then I think that's what leads people to become gang members. You know, they get these tattoos, live and die by the gun is what I hear from my brother. They're proud to live this life. So think about how brainwashed people have got to be to want to live this kind of life. To the point where they go to the hospital because they get shot, and they get back out after having the medical care of trained doctors to treat them. And they come back out, and now they're better than ever because now they have that street cred. It feeds itself. It's a bad cyclical cycle of crime feeding crime, even in yourself, and the gang feeds itself. It's tragic, but they see this as the answer, and they see this as the way that defines them and the whole group. And it's their family, you know, and almost always, don't they always go to jail, or they always end up dead or in the hospital, unfortunately.
I don't think Daley should leave. I think he should stick around. I like him as a mayor. And if we can get a couple more aldermen do something on that west side of Chicago, I think it'd be better.
Cubs.
Sox.
Cubs. I got a chance when I was a young kid to see Ernie Banks, Billy Williams, Glenn Becker, Don Kessinger, Ron Santo.
Oh, Sox fans, what's up? Sox fans represent y'all. Yes, you know. No, I was a Sox fan long before they won. I'm not a bandwagon fan. I'm a Sox fan of the heart, baby. You know, Sox 35th. That's us. That's us.
High school was public high school. I would say very normal. I haven't been to adult high school, so say normal amount of partying, not much crime I would know of. Some petty fights here and there, but nothing too big. No.
I was in a gang when I was younger, but thankfully I was smart enough to realize that ain't the way, you know. So lucky.
My brother, especially, is a surgeon, so he deals with them head on, and he gets these gangbangers that come in, or people who are victims of just living here, drive-bys and other terrible things like that. You know, that's just the stuff I see through them and how it wears on them. It's kind of sad how this is their life now, having to deal with these kind of issues. I'm not saying I can even deal with that. It's hard to see it in the news even, so.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I did my dirt. I got arrested, you know. I ain't nobody perfect, but thankfully I learned. I learned my lesson, you know. I mean, I still made other mistakes, and you know, I mean, I ain't gonna lie, I smoke weed, you know. Some point maybe I'll quit, maybe I won't, but I smoked weed. So I've gotten arrested for weed even after I was involved with the gang, you know. And that's another life lesson I had to learn, you know what I'm saying? But hopefully one day somebody in Chicago will stand up and get the state behind us, and maybe we can legalize it here like it's getting legalized in California.
My father was around, yeah, I was disciplined. They was on drugs though. My mother and my father, they was actually on drugs. She the one actually told me to come out so I could tell our story. That's how she put it, it's our story. She proud of me and what she went through. Because they don't do drugs anymore. They actually Christians now and ministers. Not really. Right now, I'm just, music is my main focus, and I've been thinking about acting, so that's why I came in on this. See how I look on camera, and then, you know.
We got you.
Yeah. Because the College Due page, I think it was, they say, people like my smile for some reason, you know. I don't see it, they see it, okay, fine, let's roll with it. If you want me on the camera, I'm gonna be on the camera. And that's pretty much it, man. Chicago's a beautiful city, and I love it.
The violence that we would see, the crime that we would have to deal with are people stealing our stuff and setting our projects back months. And it's disheartening, putting all your hard work and sweat and tears into a place just so you can provide a home for the government, so you can use the Section 8. You know, we would lease out to many people and they would enjoy our homes, but they didn't realize that taking our copper piping, which would sell for pennies compared to what we bought it for, you know, they would see that as their opportunity to make their lives better when it was really hurting the neighborhood. And create distrust, and the morale would go down, especially in my team. I mean, we were trying to do something good, so. They literally take saws and cut into the side of your house and just spend the whole night taking out copper piping. You can even board it up with steel, like boardings on your house, all the openings. They'll climb up and they will get into any way they can to steal even kitchen cabinets, mirrors, things that have no resale value whatsoever, and they'll take it.
You do have a choice, and no matter how tough you are or how tough the people you're with are, eventually it will all come crumbling down, and you're much better off on the straight and narrow.
It's not a life worth. That's not a life. You know, I watch some of the youth in my neighborhood today. You know, where I've been fortunate. The Lord blessed me to my wife and I to buy a house, and I watch some of the kids in the neighborhood, and all they want to do is tear up their neighborhood. That's not gang banging. That's terrorizing your neighborhood. You know, so I try to talk to them and try to persuade them to, you know, change your lifestyle, go to school. And if I had anything to say to them, you know, is, hey, drop that and stay in school and get your education, because to live in this city now, when you get my age, it's going to cost you probably triple. It's a couple words that used to describe me. The first word coming to mind is terrible. The second word now in my later life would be faithful. So I would kind of go with faithful.